morning and another beautiful start to another beautiful week. How is everyone and how are you, Nicolette?
I'm well. How are you, Elizabeth?
I'm a bit cold.
I could tell by you rubbing your hands together.
Yeah. I slept in this morning. Well, I didn't actually. I was up at 5:30, but I had stuff to do, so I went back into bed and got on the computer, which I don't normally do. And and so then I had, was online at 8:30 and rushed into this. So, the way you start a Monday.
Full on.
So yeah, I haven't started my fire yet, so I've got a blanket on.
You couldn't even see it
Yeah,
until
You can't really tell unless I show.
yeah.
So I've just put into the chat the stream, which I can actually put up on the screen. That is the link. If you would like us to see your chat and who you are, I mean, we see the chat, but we actually don't see who you are unless you register in that. I think it's pretty easy to register, but then we can actually say hi to you instead of saying hello, and we've got no idea who we're talking to. So Nicolette, we're talking about integrity and humility today.
Yes.
Would you like to start, or will I just run in? Or
I think I'll let you start. It's interesting because this is a topic that you suggested, and so I've been Googling the meanings of them, and which might be actually that might be a good way to start, is to actually read out the definitions of the words. Is that cool?
Absolutely. While you do that, I'll show we've got some beautiful women on here. Hi, Helen. Hello to us. And we've also got Irene in here saying hello. Thank you so much, ladies, for jumping on.
So integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Yeah, so I guess the question is, who defines what the moral principles are?
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because that's where I sort of wanted to go with this. The reason we brought up integrity and humility is because before we were doing this, I was doing a dose of sunshine. And the last dose of sunshine I did was becoming a woman of light, which is, as everyone knows who's watching, is a Women of Light movement is my Facebook group. And integrity is a really instrumental aspect of becoming more of who you authentically are, like your true nature. In my opinion, it's not anything. I think a lot of, depending on where you're at with your evolution, I think a lot of people think integrity, they still externalize it. They still see it as something to do with the people outside of themselves.
Yeah.
And, am I being truthful so that I'm seen as an integral person, or as I'm being seen as, or I'm being liked, or am I, am I this or that, blah, 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 outside. And yet from my own, my volume is a bit quiet.
Well, it's not for me, so I don't know.
It's up on 100, so
yeah.
Is anyone else having trouble with my volume? I can't. It's up high on this, so
yeah, I can hear you
fine. Thanks, Amanda. So for me, one of the things that I discovered on my spiritual exploration of myself was my understanding of what my honesty was, what my truth was, and internalizing it.
And, well, and sorry to interrupt. what keeps coming to me is being honest with yourself first, having integrity with yourself first.
Yeah.
So it's not being outside of yourself. It's not using someone else's moral principles as the measuring stick of whether you're in integrity or not.
Yeah. And actually a really good example is that just came up for me was when I was in a relationship just recently, and it was in the process of, I was in this process. Am I staying, or am I slogging it out because things have come up, or am I moving on? And one of the things that I've been challenged with in my life is that I've never had anyone leave me. I'm the one that leaves, right? And so
that means that you're in control.
well, I don't know. Well, it's in control of my own life, right? Like I'm in control of my own life. I don't think I do it from a place of rejecting someone before they reject me. It's more from a place of, and I really looked at that in my marriage, like when things really shifted in my marriage, I stayed for 2 or 3 years more because I want to stay and make sure that I'm not running away from the process. I want to, and it was really challenging for me and my kids. And I stayed because I'm like, well, am I missing something here? So getting back to the relationship that was just the one that just I decided to move on from, we had different opinions about what a relationship is. And so in that process, I had to look at, there was two parts to myself. One was, am I to be a spiritual being, shouldn't I be allowing someone else to love everybody equally, right? And or as a spiritual being, am I wanting someone to love everyone equally and have a relationship where I'm the woman, I'm his equal, his partner, blah blah blah. And so I had to really look at the integrity or the truth for me of what are my actual beliefs about being a spiritual woman or an evolved being, or whatever you want to describe it as. What is my understanding of it and my truth, and what's the world's truth, and is the world's truth tainting me? What's the belief of others, and is that tainting my decision or my understanding? Am I wanting more from him from a place of lack or need or dysfunction or imbalance? And really break it down and work out, what is it that I actually want? Am I coming from a place of balance? Am I coming from my own truth, or am I being tainted and conditioned from what spirituality is supposed to be from outside of myself? And really breaking that down and going, wait a minute, no, I want to be in a relationship where I know that I'm special to that person, and I'm not. I'm different to everybody else, even though I still want him to be able to love everybody the way he wants to love them, But I want to be seen as his partner.
Yes. Yep.
And so
that's you being in your integrity with yourself about what you need from a life partner.
Yes.
Relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it had nothing. I had to really break it down. What is it that I, and even if it came down to being completely different to what everyone else saw spirituality, the label of it, evolved being, whatever it was, which it actually sort of in a way did, because it was like, I want to be owned by a man, like I'm and he owns me, and then we can explore the world and be completely free within that, and so, if that was different to what the world saw, then so be it. That was me being in my truth and my integrity, and then moving through into that, in that space, in a way of being able to move forward with that. And so, once I understood that, was able to express that to him.
That's a really cool realization. And what's coming up for me is it's not what we do, it's the reason that we do it.
Yeah.
So I'll use getting married as an example. Like what you've just described in that relationship that's what I have with Andrew, is that but we have chosen not to get married because for us, the reason behind, or the meaning of marriage isn't something that either of us connect with. That doesn't mean that I judge other people who get married, because if they're getting married for the right reasons and they have and that's part of their integrity with themselves,
integral
then that's, I'm so happy for them, and that's the best day of their life. That's amazing. But if they're getting married to wear a white dress and get a bunch of presents and attention and be seen in the community as that, if it's caught up in their
all the right things, ticked all the right boxes,
then I don't believe, or they're doing it just because that's what you do.
Yeah.
Then I don't see that as being them being in their integrity, and I don't agree with it. So yeah.
And in saying that, sometimes
it's the way you do it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's that they're unaware that they're not in their integrity either. It's just the level of where they're at the time,
Yeah, actually, I was having a really good conversation this morning with my stepson about the decisions that people make in their late teens and early 20s when they think that they know. Gay people who get married and have kids and a life. And I'm on live here. I'm on a live call here. But he's delivering my coffee, so that's forgiven.
Yeah.
Have I got paint on that, have I? Oh, gosh. Sorry, Elizabeth. What was I saying?
Gay people getting married and having children.
Oh, yeah. So when we make decisions early in life and we think that we know, we think that we're doing the right thing and we think that we know what we want, but we haven't had the experiences of the wisdom. And I was using the example of gay people that get married, like gay men that get married and have children and then in their 30s or 40s realize, okay, this isn't going away.
Yeah.
So
we're not taught, are we? We're not conditioned to self-reflect and self-assess. We're not given that opportunity because we're all conditioned to fit in.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that my children have a much better chance of living in their integrity now than I did at their age. And I think that evolution of the world is fantastic.
Yeah.
But still, there's this overriding system that we live in.
Yeah. It is, as you said, it's starting to break down. Things are shifting for the next generation, and the next generation is always, there's always a new evolutionary process, right? So
yeah. So that's, we've kind of covered integrity, I think. So the other word that you had was humility.
Yeah. Do you want to look that up?
Okay.
The reason I brought up humility is because it's a really slippery slope. When is a really it's a slippery slope, but it's a really interesting. It's an interesting process, humility, because there's this really fine line of being aware of yourself as an aspect of the divine that has channeled the information. So there's an opportunity to acknowledge that yes, I did that because I was tuned in.
Mm.
And then there's the ego that goes, yes, I did that because I did that.
Mm.
And not acknowledging that actually it's a source, the source
It's
that,
really easy, and I fall into this trap a lot. I have very good intuition, and I know I have very good intuition, and I will make judgments on other people because I know better, because I've been tuning into my intuition, and I
yeah,
have to catch myself all the time, in that egoic state.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So humility is the quality of having a modest or low view of one's importance. He needs the humility to accept that their way may be better.
That's really interesting. Because definitions aren't always accurate, I reckon. Can you
It's quite
say
a long
that again?
definition, isn't it?
Yeah, can you say it again?
The quality of having a modest or low view of one's importance.
A low view of one's importance.
I don't believe that. Do you?
Yeah, that's that's a really negative way of putting it, isn't there? Like, being modest, or say, like, my understanding is what I said before, like that whole realizing that we're in, 10% of the 90 odd percent that's actually outside of us, the source energy, the divine spark, the inspiration that comes in, and we then act on it as a physical being.
Mm.
And so, I personally think that when you're strong and confident and empowered, you can be really comfortable with the fact that you're a tool in an instrumental aspect of that, because you have done the work, the health, the
Mm.
spiritual, practices, whatever, to be a conduit, to go, to be that.
Mm.
But to acknowledge that it's you, is that's when there's that, you know what I
Oh,
mean? Because
yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? Because
yeah.
this source is all of us.
Mm.
And so when you say you, we're talking about the part of us that's individualized, in my opinion, not
Mm.
like, I could be wrong, but this is just my definition. And
Yeah,
we're on spiritual vibes. We can
yeah. Spiritually
and
about it. That's what we're here for.
yeah, that's right. So I'd love to hear anyone else's thoughts on this in
I
the
think that's a
comments.
great definition, Elizabeth. And to put it in my own words and repeat it back, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So humility is the understanding that what flows through us is divine. We have no ownership of it. It deserves what's the word I'm looking for? But to identify it as us is not being in humility. So
Yeah, yeah. And Amanda's put a beautiful definition here that I'd like to share, from Merriam-Webster. Freedom from pride or arrogance, the quality or state of being humble.
humble.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that. Thanks for sharing, Amanda.
And I mean, this is why I when I'm leading meditations and when I'm interacting with people spiritually, it's as much about what is coming through them as it is about what's coming through me, because I'm no better than you're no better than me. We're on this journey together, and as spiritual beings having a journey together, we can learn so much from each other by being humble and allowing the teaching to happen between
Yeah,
each other.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. And I also personally feel that when you let go of the attachment of it being anything to do with you, um, there's more opportunity for that divine spark inspiration to flood in, because you've let go of the limitations. Because as soon as you start identifying it as you, there's a limitation, right? Because we're limited
Mm.
beings. And so as soon as you let go of that, like I actually was just on a call prior to this, and we had to, it was my first time on the call, and we had to introduce each other, and I told them about having the brain tumor removed. And we were just having a bit of a discussion about it. And as I said, um, it just flowed, this amazing flow. Who can say that they had a brain tumor removed and it was an amazing experience?
That's right.
Like the last woman nurse that I saw in the hospital before I closed my eyes, her name was Angel. The first nurse I opened my eyes to, her name was Crystal. I had, you know, forgot my chemical free products, went into the toilet and and someone had left chemical free stuff in there that I was able to use instead of the chemicals of, I had money come into, 5-figure
Mm.
money come into my account. Now, to say that I did any of that, like, this is all stuff outside of myself. Like, I created a woman called Angel, and I asked her name wasn't Angelique or Angela, or her name was Angel. Like, like all these things that like was one that, I mean, I'm just giving you a small section of it. There's no way that I could have done all that. That was because I was inspired by source energy and completely in tune. So there was that aspect of me being there and surrendering to the experience and what's going to happen. What do I need to do? Give
Mm.
me the information and I'll do it. Even making the decision whether I was going to go into hospital and have it cut out or do it myself, like just the whole way, I'll just be here and open up to the divine to allow that energy to tell me what to do.
And it feels like a deep surrendering to the fact that we actually have no control over any of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
all
we
of
may
it.
as well act upon what's coming through with the faith that the outcome is going to be what it's meant to be.
Oh, absolutely. But also with the I don't know if this is correct, but the faith of observation, that is all just an experience.
Mm.
None of, like, as I said, who would say that it was, most people go, oh my gosh, brain tumor, blah blah blah, right? But when you come from a place of, okay, this is an experience I'm having, wow, I'm having this is going to be really interesting. That's when I first started, like, I remember my daughter Carly, like, I wish you were the type of mother that would just go in and have the operation,
Because she
and I remember looking at her, because I was like, oh yeah, she's going through the fact that her mother is,
Mm.
having to make this decision, and I wish you would just be the mother that would, go and have the operation. And I went, yeah, I get that. I get that you're, that is something that you would like, like, but that's your experience.
Mm.
My experience is I'm just tuning in. This is my experience,
Mm.
and when you see it as an experience rather than see it as, oh my God, in the duality,
Yeah.
I'm powerless to this or I'm powerful to this, instead of moving into those, that swinging of the pendulum and just going, wow, I'm having an experience, and maybe in that experience I might die. Like, that's a possibility. It didn't ever feel like it. There was never, I did a will just because others wanted me to. but someone suggested that are you going to put about being resuscitated? And I felt into that and I went, I can't see that part ever needing. I don't need to do that because I can't feel like I've got more to do on this planet. If it happens, we'll see what that experience is. But, that's being able to be in the experience regardless of what it is. That's actually integrity as well, being in that place of, this is true for me. This is what I'm experiencing at the moment.
And well, an experience that I've had recently is I keep getting, I in the last few months, I keep getting the message, you need to go and have a mammogram. Mum had breast cancer. I'm 40 now. It's time for me to go and do that. There's a bunch of other health things that I need to check up on, but I've been keeping on getting the message and then avoiding it and going, no, I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know if I've got breast cancer. I don't want to know if, so I'm just going to put it off for another month. And then I keep getting the message again and again. Finally booked in for a mammogram tomorrow and hopefully it comes back clear. But if it doesn't, then that's just a part of my journey, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have acceptance now instead of resisting what is coming or what may come, or that's just, if it is, it's like your brain tumor. You can't change it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's there, right? It was there, right? So
yeah,
it's really interesting. I've got an MRI tomorrow to see whether it's going to be, because it might be genetic. So yeah, so I've got to have they wanted me to have an MRI 6 months. That's part of the procedure is, have another one 6 months afterwards. So I just read some of the things here. I feel like it's knowing what to, we missed some of this because I didn't have the chat up. I feel like it's knowing what we know and having openness to not knowing, a balance, absolutely a balancing act. Yeah. And then someone else has put here, humility for me gets easier as I open to the divine work and purpose rather than my own work and purpose. Absolutely. I would love to know who that is because you haven't registered. So we've got no idea who it is, but that's some beautiful wisdom there. And the same here for this person, staying open to the will of the divine beyond our will. Absolutely. Totally agree. Thank you.
The other thing that I just wanted to bring up when you said the MRI, it dropped into my head. Millie had an MRI last week she's been having ongoing migraines. That's my 14-year-old daughter. And for months and months and months, her father and stepmother have been saying to me, she needs an MRI, she needs this, she needs that. And I knew that there wasn't anything, that it wouldn't come up with anything. Like I just intuitively knew, right? So in my ego, I took her to acupuncturists and lowered her stress levels, and they've improved a lot, but they haven't gone away. And eventually I just went, no, they need me to get the MRI because that's their part of their integrity and what their belief system is. And me just saying, I know that there's nothing wrong with their brain is not. So yeah, so it's interesting how we go, no, this is
yeah. Well, and that's that's really interesting, isn't it? Because within our own humility and integrity, we also, part of that process is dancing with others.
Yeah.
Which is,
and the part of her that is the part of him needed to know too.
Yeah.
So
that's
nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
So I just went, okay, I'm going to stop trying to control this and take her to get the bloody MRI.
Yeah, and give some relief to all those people, Yeah. So it's 10 o'clock. Will we share what we've got going on? What have you got going on?
I have a body and soul harmonization session on the 17th. Which is an online session. I think it's 6 p.m. And that's $150 for a 90-minute session. And it's a full chakra clearing and whatever we experience together on the evening. So I facilitate with others, not for others, if that makes sense. So that's what I have coming up this month, and I would love to connect with anyone who wants to be a part of that.
Awesome. And so I have a workshop coming up next Saturday, this Saturday coming up. I think it starts at 9 o'clock, if I'm correct. It's called Reconnecting with Your Inner Child. And we talk about, some of those things that can be holding us back, that are limitations from our subconscious. Talking about integrity, like if you've got old patterns that are in your past experiences, they're still locked in the subconscious level. And so being able to clear some of them, and what's going on from the worldview or your views of others, all of that sort of stuff can taint and go mucky with our own integrity and our own true purpose and nature. So we talk about all that sort of stuff. It's free, and so we can put the link in here, and people can just register. Lovely to chat with you again.
Yeah, it was a great chat.
Good chat.
And I think, when we do these sessions, whoever is on and listening or watching the replay, and they get some kind of gold nugget or able to think of something from a different perspective, it's such a gift to be able to do this. And I'm really grateful to have the technology and the connection with you to do it. So
yeah, it is beautiful, isn't it? And same, like having I said something on one of these that was, very flippant. I think it was the very first one I did, and found out from a friend that it completely changed her relationship with her mother.
Oh, wow.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Oh, look at beautiful Irene has put the link in here already. Thank you so much, Irene. Oh, and it was Yasmin. Yasmin, I thought about you on the weekend and still didn't ring. I definitely have to get to you. I've so much to share and so much to find out from what's going on for you. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully we've given you some something interesting and some value to think about over the week. If there's something that's going on for you that you need to sit in your integrity, because there's so many different layers and levels of this, right? Like, what is it why are you doing something? Is that, as you said, Nicolette, why are you doing something? What is it that you're doing that's a particular thing? Why did you make that decision to do it or not do it or whatever? Is really pertinent to your own spiritual growth. So, take care, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Have a good week.
See ya.